Good afternoon.
Good
Great.
afternoon. Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you join with us live here as we again discuss how another entrepreneur changed from being a career person into full entrepreneurship and took that bold step. I think I had asked that you be the special guest this week because of our heritage. I'm from Jamaica, and so are you. And by the way, for those
Yes.
listeners who are there tuned in, thank you for tuning in. And I wanted to say that we have the same last name, Cameron, and
That's
that's amazing. And I've never met you before.
we could be related somewhere along the line. Now I'm not hearing you now, Shelley. Can you?
I'm gonna jump right in and ask you some questions.
Okay.
The first question is, are you an entrepreneur? And if so, what business are you in?
I am an entrepreneur, and sometimes I think that's good and sometimes not so good. I'm in the business of publishing and communications.
Okay.
That's
You're in the business of publishing and communication. And like I was saying before, this week we're basically celebrating the emancipation and independence in Jamaica. And I thought it fitting to have someone who is in business from the island heritage. Where do you live now?
I actually live in Toronto. This is where I grew up, but I'm from Jamaica, from Kingston originally.
Okay, so you're there talking to us all the way from Toronto now.
From Toronto, yes.
Ooh, okay, great. Yeah. So how did you get into the business of, what business are you in and how did you get into it? Share with us.
Well, first of all, I'm a journalist. So I have a degree in journalism, and that's been my career all along, writing, editing, publishing, etc. But more than that, as time went on, I came to think of myself more as a storyteller.
Okay.
And so it's using that voice and being a storyteller, meaning telling stories, obviously.
Sure.
And making the leap from writing and editing for other people, I still do some of that, to putting together my own publications or my own communications vehicles wasn't such a big leap for me. And as a storyteller, for me, this is a way of telling our story from Jamaica and from the islands.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes other people tell our stories for us. And I think it's important that we have our own voice and tell our own stories. And there are many different ways of doing that.
Okay. So how did you do that? How did you take that plunge?
So what I did, I grew up in Toronto, but I'd gone back to Jamaica to work. And I was one of the editors at the Gleaner. And one of the things that came under my responsibility was the food section. And I realized how much connection people have to food. And that food is not just about eating, it's about culture, it's about history, it's about people getting together and so on. And I noticed the reaction of people living overseas to the Gleaner's food section. Mm-hmm. And, it occurred to me that there wasn't really anything like that out there in the marketplace in terms of a Jamaican or a Caribbean food magazine. I mean, there are the odd books, but nothing as a magazine type that told our stories, recipes, etc. And that's where I got that clever idea and jumped into it, did my surveys, talking to people, what did they think and so on and so forth. And then deciding that beyond the shores of the Caribbean, the diaspora is huge. And in addition to that, of course, people who travel to the Caribbean, who do business in the Caribbean, that they were really looking for something like this, that there was a niche.
Uh-huh.
So that's what
Awesome.
started that journey.
Okay. All right. So what's the name of your business?
So I do Jamaican Eats magazine, and I
Jamaican.
launched
Uh-huh.
that. So it's Jamaican,
Uh-huh.
Jamaican Eats magazine, which I launched in 2006.
2006.
That's right. And I went until 2012, and I suspended it for about 3 years. And, I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it back, but the readers would not let it go. I mean, they kept emailing me and messaging me and saying, Grace, we're waiting for you. And I decided to take another look at it and the world of how publishing had changed. And then I decided 2 years ago to relaunch it.
So you are most entrepreneurs that who tend to start off and sometimes you hit a wall. You started off by doing your market research and found that there was an opportunity there, and you decided based on your background and experience to jump right in. So
That's that's exactly it.
after you jumped right in, you had some times and you decided then okay, you're gonna just take a break, and you did that for 3 years. But
I
that
just yeah.
resilient person in you decided, hey, I'm going to jump right back in.
I I decided to jump back in as well, also because the world of publishing has changed in many different ways.
Yes, of course, definitely.
Yeah, the ways that one can and I'm not talking about digital publishing per se, although that is a part of the equation. But the way that one can publish now, the quantities, the turnaround time, there's so many things about publishing that you can do now that you
Yes,
could never do 5 years ago that made it more possible.
yes,
And also since 2012, the world of social media, which is another way of having a community, has, as we all know, it's exploded. So now,
definitely.
in terms of doing the magazine, there is a magazine, but I also have an online community on
Uh-huh.
Facebook that
Uh-huh.
is quite active. I have a
Okay.
Facebook group and a Facebook page. And
Awesome.
I have to say, when I created both, I wasn't sure what they were about. This was years ago. Someone just told me, "Hey, you need to be on Facebook," and I thought, okay. And since I relaunched 2 years ago, I'm realizing how valuable it is because it's a way of engaging my audience.
Yes.
And I started with a Facebook page when I relaunched 2 years ago of maybe about 100 and something people, and now I'm over 6,000.
Wow.
And
Wonderful.
we have a group that's about half that size, but again, not necessarily the same people. But
Okay.
both are quite active, and it's a good way to engage and
Okay.
listen to and hear from your audience.
So you spoke a little bit about what I'm terming as aha moments,
Right.
because based on your market and the people who you're serving, they seem to be the one who is commanding their services and what the direction that you're going, which is pretty awesome for an entrepreneur like yourself. So my question is, aside from those, I don't know if you want to use those as the examples, but is there anything that stands out as an aha moment, that real moment that says that helped you to step out?
Yes, absolutely. There are a number of those. I remember once, and this happened a number of times, but once in particular, I remember getting a telephone call from a reader in the UK.
Yes.
And I picked up the phone, and all I could hear at the beginning was sobbing. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is this about? And then she caught her breath, and number one, she couldn't believe that she had gotten me.
Okay.
And basically, what it came down to, she had migrated from Jamaica 50 years before that. And she had just come across the magazine, and she was very emotional because the magazine for her was a way to connect with her grandchildren,
Ah,
and
okay.
in a way that was positive and empowering. And she
Wow.
could share it with them. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the magazine. And
Amazing.
several other aha moments. I mean, I've had people from other islands who have actually called me and who have said, Grace, although it's called Jamaican Eats, we still take pride in it as well because I see that you feature other islands and we're
Right,
also
right.
interested in it. We're also rooting for you. And I thought that was very good.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that is including in these magazines? That
Yes.
magazine that you, yes.
The way I like to describe it, you can use it like a recipe book because it has recipes, or you
Okay.
can read it like a magazine because what I do, it's not just about throwing in some recipes and saying, oh, this is how you make this recipe or this is how you do that. I like to tell when I can the stories behind it, the
Uh,
stories of people who are doing it,
mhm.
the stories of people that you might bump into on the street,
Yes.
the story. So with everything, there's always a story attached to it in some ways. I mean, mind you, there are some recipes that are just that, recipes.
Yes.
But there's stories about people cooking Caribbean in Sweden, people cooking Caribbean in the UK, in Canada, in the Caribbean itself.
Hmm.
So it's about the people, it's about the food, it's about how we do it, and
Yes.
it's about showcasing us in a way that we can take pride in what we have and who we are, but also in a way that other people can come along for the ride and enjoy it.
Right.
And at the very core of it, for me, there is a sort of emotion that I like to think I tap into that we can all relate to as human beings. So
Okay.
when I tell the story of, or when someone talks about their grandmother's stew peas, for example, a reader in the Okanagan in British Columbia, and I have a friend who lives out there, may not understand or may never have seen stew peas or whatever. But the fact of someone talking about their grandmother and some of the traditions and all of that stuff, for that person, there's a connection. It's
Yes.
about their grandmother as well, and it brings up memories for them. And they can come along for the ride and maybe make some of the recipes if they want.
I quite understand that because, of course, I can remember my grandma, my own grandmother as well, and how she cooked. And now that you're thinking, I'm thinking about it. Sometimes you remember as you taste, it takes you back. And
Exactly.
I've seen where Chris has joined us, and he is saying that yes, we're culturally starved, and I think we are culturally starved when we are away from our heritage, away from home, our land, the land of our birth, as we call it.
I think there is that, but for me also,
Yes.
I wanted to tell, many times we're often just a one story kind of thing. And I wanted to tell our story in another kind of way
Okay.
and in a way that's empowering, but
Okay.
also a way that other people should, if they choose to, could come on the journey. I have a friend who happens to be from Romania, and
Yes.
she's been buying enthusiastically and subscribing to the magazine. I
Yes.
can tell you, Shelley, she's never cooked anything. And I said to her the other day, why are you buying these magazines? And she goes, because I like reading them.
Oh
And
my God.
I just like reading it and I like looking at the pictures and I like the stories and I like the little bits and bites. And I thought, okay,
So we get satisfaction in different ways. So I
so in
wanted,
different ways, yes.
okay, so I wanted to ask you this another question as we move on. What type of satisfaction do you get out of the work that you're doing?
I really I really am happy when people tell me about the stories that they like.
Yes.
I really like when people can say I have an adopted child from the Caribbean or my children or grandchildren, I can share this with them. I really those make a difference.
Uh-huh.
And
Definitely.
those stories resonate with me.
Those
Yeah.
stores. So that's what gives you the satisfaction. So, what motivates you on a daily basis? If we're just getting down to a little bit more about you.
My son.
Okay.
I've got one child, so that is something that motivates me.
Okay.
But I also think, I always think that I can do better, or that there's more to come, or that there are more exciting things to
Right.
come.
Right. Right. Right.
And so I'm always, and I'm so excited too, because whenever I do a magazine, I always think, oh my goodness, I, just using that as one example, I could have done that much more. Or even sometimes just going for a walk or just getting out or doing anything, you think there's so much around us. There's so much to this world. There's so much more to come. So I'm always looking forward to what's next. What what have I what have I not discovered as yet? If that makes
Wonderful.
any sense.
It does. It actually does because most often what I found in my own career is that most persons were all motivated by the need to satisfy those your son, that who is the real driving factor behind it, and also your audience as well that you also had mentioned as we had discussed before. So
Absolutely.
what so tell me, how do you remind yourself of what's important? I mean, we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are there, and sometimes there are lots of distractions.
You know what? No, everything works out in the end. It all works out in the end. Number one, that's what I realize. Number two, for me, I consider myself to be very blessed, because let me give a shout out to Jamaican Eats readers. They are absolutely awesome. These are readers who call me up. They write. They are my biggest supporters. They spread the word, and they're always looking out for what's next. They are absolutely awesome,
Oh, okay.
and I love it. And no matter when I think, oh, well, that didn't work out the way that I thought it would, it works out somehow in the mix. I am fortunate I have that kind of awesome support.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
So that's it, your readership. That's wonderful because not many entrepreneurs can say that. But because you're a successful one, that's the reason we're discussing this with you, so you can show others the way and how it does. So as we wind on a little bit more about tell
Yes.
us a little bit about yourself. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time?
I like to read, but I have to say, so left to my own devices, as when I was a child, I would read the entire library if you let me. But I also, when I moved out to Vancouver a number of years ago, I
Yes.
realized that I really like to hike. And so
Ah,
hiking is something that I do whenever I can.
okay.
I just like the challenge of moving along, just seeing what's out there. So it does something for my soul.
Right, and I bet it's refreshing and being in nature.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
Inspiring too. I actually tend to like that as
Yes.
well myself.
Yes.
So let me ask you a very fun question. 7 days, 6 nights, all expenses paid. What's your
I I
vacation?
like that question. I would split it two ways.
Yes.
One, I would spend half the time on a mountaintop
Oh wow.
with a river rushing by,
Ah.
and birds singing and all of that stuff, and cook out on the open fire outdoors and running boat, as they would say in Jamaica, with some friends and family, and just recharging that way.
Okay.
But the other half, interestingly enough, I would want to spend in a city like New York or London,
Ah.
just taking in the urban scenery, taking in whatever shows and restaurants, and just feeling the vibe of people. Because I like to read and see people go by. There's so many stories in it all. So
Okay.
that's how I would do it.
So you lived in New York for a while, did you?
I didn't, but I visited a number of times.
And you like what you and what about London?
I've
What
been to
what?
London a couple of times, yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason you're singling those places
I
out
use
that you
I
want you
use
would go.
I use them as examples. It doesn't necessarily have to be those two specific cities, but I
Yes,
think of two world cities. And I'm for
I know
some
I go sometimes mute, so I
right.
can try to just get the best of this technology because for those of you who don't know, with the Facebook Live, you're not able to test it in advance. You only can test while you're on air, live broadcast. That's the only time you can test. Test it a little bit before you start, and then you just have to take what you get as you go continue talking. So we're working through this. And what's your favorite, absolute favorite guilty pleasure?
Reality television shows.
Oh
I
wow.
admit it. My son says he's ashamed. So I will only admit in this interview to the Amazing Race,
Okay.
which I watch, and I do watch shows like Shark Tank, but the Amazing Race.
Okay, cool. I mean, a lot of us do love Shark Tanks. I mean, just to hear the innovation.
And you've gone mute again, Shelley.
I have. Okay, are you
Yes,
hearing me
I can
better
hear you.
now?
Yes,
Right.
I'm hearing you now.
So I'm saying Shark Tank is one area that one show that many of us can say that they like to watch, and another is for me personally. I will share with you HGTV.
Oh my goodness,
I love I just love my Property Brothers. So
of
yes,
course, of course. I discovered HGTV about what, 12 years ago, and yes. Oh yes. So
so what is the
yeah, okay, okay, I didn't hear the
what
question.
stands what as your favorite food?
Oh, hands down mangoes.
Oh my
Woolly
God.
mango, woolly mango, Indian mangoes. Right, but listen, I'm very specific. They have to be pre-ripened. The ones that we get overseas that they have to pick before they're fully ripe,
Yes.
they don't quite do it. I like the ones that are ripened on the tree and you can just smell them.
Oh wow.
For me, that is it. And I'll go for fried ripe plantains as well.
All right, so that's wonderful. I know there are lots of Caribbean persons who are in this season
Yes,
guilty of immersing themselves into those mangoes, those delicious East Indian mangoes. What
absolutely, absolutely.
and
So
what follows is months after of hitting the exercise.
no, but the mangoes are good because you know the song about mango time. When it's
Oh.
mango time, you don't have to cook. Except now, I have to say in the magazine and in this next issue that we have coming up, we do have mango recipes. So
Awesome,
you can
amazing.
preserve your mangoes and use them afterwards. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. So can you, as we end this session, can you do us share with us what the name of your group and tell us a little bit about how we can get your magazine for those of us who are not educated on it and all. What's the name of your group, and if it is okay, just give us some information about how to
So for
contact
all
you.
my social media handles, it's hashtag Jamaican Eats
Yes.
or Jamaican Eats Magazine.
Okay.
And for our website, it's Jamaican with an N,
Yes.
JamaicanEats.com.
Yes.
So between the social media platforms and the website, that's how people can see what we're about. The magazine we sell through the website, JamaicanEats.com, and we have some of our back issues that are available. We also have a cookbook, by the way, that I did last year called 10 Reasons Why 10 Reasons Why Jamaicans Run So Fast cookbook.
And how can they get this cookbook?
That is also sold on the website.
Okay.
So when you go to the website and you click on the shop section, it does show subscriptions, buying individual magazines, the cookbook, a coloring book.
Yes.
We have a coloring book that we've done using pictures from the magazine. And I have to say, we have coming in September, we're launching a digital platform called Passport to Caribbean Food.
Wow.
And basically, it's a resource guide of everything Caribbean food around the world.
Wow.
So there's a lot. So if
Okay.
you remember JamaicanEats.com and you
Right.
go to the website, or in any social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's Jamaican Eats or JamaicanEats.com or Jamaican Eats Magazine.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us about your experience and your plunge and how you took the plunge. And as we celebrate the Jamaican Independence and Emancipation Week and weekend into the many activities, it was really a pleasure having you on, sharing a little bit about the heritage. And yes,
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say something else.
yes, go
I
ahead.
would also like to thank all those brave Jamaican and Caribbean women who came before us,
Yeah,
who really, really suffered a lot of indignities, but persevered anyway.
yes,
They give me strength, and I would like to think that they give all of us some kind of strength.
okay,
And to remember that, when the going gets tough,
yeah,
those women never gave up, and they kept plugging away for their children and grandchildren,
yeah,
because it's about legacy.
yeah,
So in many cases they may not have left us millions of dollars per se,
yeah,
but what they would have left us in terms of a legacy is probably more than that. So
yeah.
I would like to say that, and for us to remember that, because it's not easy, and there was a time when it might even have been a lot harder,
Yes.
and they kept going, and I get strength from that.
Okay. Yes, you're taking us back in time there. And I can think of Miss Lou that I know as far as the heritage is concerned, and many people who have been inspired by our own Miss Lou as well, Louise Bennett.
Right, and just how to carry ourselves with dignity and act with integrity.
Right, right, right,
Mhm.
right. So I thank you so much again for spending this time with us and for sharing. And as we all celebrate the Jamaican independence and the Caribbean and the festivities that are happening now right across the different countries, because
Mhm.
Jamaicans are all over. And what I also wanted to share is that if there are individuals who are interested in taking that plunge from career to entrepreneur, they can go on my own website as well, shellycameron.com, and I have available a book, a PDF download that speaks to the how you can take that leap into your own business. Or if you don't want to go into your own business, you can also take that leap as to go into to take on additional responsibilities in your career or changing your career. Because as Miss Cameron has said, Grace here has said, it comes with its different challenges, and all entrepreneurs know that. But any decision at all usually comes with it. But as Grace has mentioned, that she did her background work and all before taking the plunge. So there are ways to do it, and that PDF will also help in making that decision. Thank you again, Grace, and it was absolute pleasure.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes, you're
And
welcome.
that book sounds awesome.
Yes,
I'll have to direct people to it. Yes.
well, the other books that I've done is the success strategies, because I believe in success, and that's really the purpose of me interviewing people like yourself who have gone out there and been successful. And I've published it in the book, and now I'm doing interviews online with persons like yourself, so individuals can hear
Yes.
how
Yes.
others have done it. So thanks again, and it was my absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much. I enjoy this.
Uh,
Okay.
you know, thank
Thanks.
you. Okay.